Others will have to join and catch up. So, as you guys all know, my name is Darryl Dunnington. Welcome to our class for Monday, December the 20th. My goodness, the month is passing fairly quickly. So let's take a look at what we've covered, where we're headed, and what you guys should expect over the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks are very, very important. So I'll say that multiple times. The next 2 weeks are very important. We are preparing for the first certification. So I want to share with you some information to make sure that you're on track, that you are doing all of your exercises, you're answering all of the quiz questions in Pega Academy, completing all the challenges so that your system will be enabled for you to take what they call the mission test. The mission test is a test to test you over all of the concepts that you have worked on. And there's also a mission exercise that will have limited instructions, will give you an opportunity to see just how much you know from your hands-on capabilities and the skills that you should have acquired by now. So make sure that you're doing that. I want to take this session to cover that information and make sure that you guys are prepped and ready. The expectation is that if you are attending this class, you have completed all the activities, you are well prepared to sit for that professional certification and pass it the first time. That's always been our goal, to make sure that we equipped you with the proper tools, learning tools, that you can understand Pega, you can master the knowledge of that technology to help you achieve success in passing the certification and to gain skill. At this point, you should be able to understand what a business architect can do and will do. A Pega business architect can do and will do. They are responsible for the designing of the system. They have the app studio to help them design the system. They gather requirements and specifications. We talk more along the line of user stories and use cases. But like that old business analyst, you still have to have requirement specifications. But in Pega, we talk about Scrum, um, various iterations of a sprint, and creating user stories and creating use cases. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our activities for the day. This will not be a long session. I think I need to give you more time to work on the essays. I would like to get some feedback from you about how long it's taking you guys to do the essays. If you'd send me an email, just a short email, is it taking you an hour to do them? 30 minutes? I need to get some feedback because you are doing at least one um, essay per session. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three. And that may seem like a lot of activity, but the way that we've created this course and built it so that you have targeted learning, there's a process that we're requiring you to go through. Understand the information in Pega Academy. Do the challenges. Listen to the lecture, which is a comprehensive overview of that particular aspect of Pega technology. From that, listen to the podcast in Spanish, two people talking, comprehensive conversation so that you can hear and clearly understand the purpose of that particular segment. And then out of that, we have the 5 essay questions. Now, you should have enough knowledge from those 3 layers of information, and you can answer those essay questions. And all the questions are in the document itself. I'm not going outside the document. We have contained targeted information in that document for you to learn. So that's where the optimization and the acceleration of learning Pega comes into play. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we did the last session. In the last session last week, from the 13th through the 16th, so 13, 15, 16, you see that we had 2 essays that were due on Monday. Some of you turned those in. We'll take a look at those. We had 3 that was due for Wednesday and 2 that was due for Thursday. So my expectation is whatever day that we're on, that you are working on those activities. Not that you're behind, but you're working on those activities. Now, of course, this is our morning session. So I expect you to get started on today's activities. But by this evening, you should be finished, or you should be finishing up that day's activities. So again, I encourage you, get caught up. And also just make sure that when you are creating these essays, at the end of the file name, that you'll put the number 08 or 09, 08A, 10, 11. That helps me when my AI tool is grading all of these, then it's looking for that particular number. And I know earlier I told some people if we have multiples, like on the 15th, to do 1, 2, 3, but that's not a very efficient way for me to actually grade it, or for my AI tool, my AI assistant, to help me grade it. So whatever number is associated with that particular document and podcast, make sure that's the number that you put on your essay, along with your first name, last name. Now, if you put your full name, do this for me also. These are some peculiarities I'm finding with my AI assistant, that if you would put your full name, in that document, and then followed by a number. Now, you can put anything else before and after, it doesn't matter, but you need to include your full name. So if you have a first and last name, it's just 2 parts of that, then do it. But if it's 4 parts of your name, put all 4 in there for me, because my AI tool is going against what's in your what's in the role. So when you signed up, you probably signed up with your full name. So make sure that you do that for me. That helps me from having to go through and manually change some things. With our last session, as we always do, we have it available out on our recordings for the 16th. And we have a document. Now, you don't have to do anything with this document, but it's a good document for reading, because again, like the podcast, it summarizes everything that we talked about in the last session. So if you happen to miss parts of the conversation, or you're trying to find out what we did in a previous session, then you can go back here and you can listen to it in the comprehensive podcast, or you can go and look into the document. Now, I don't want you skipping class, because we cover a lot of information in the podcast and the document. Though they are comprehensive, it's still a summary. So for you to really get a full understanding of what is required, then we need you to attend every day. So you should have received a WebEx link, as always, these documents, and then you can go to the channel that we have set up if you're wanting to listen to one of the sessions again. All right, so let's talk about where we are in your status. So this is week 4. So the first 3 weeks is making sure that you understand the technology, making sure you understand the activities that are required for the class, that you understand the learning strategy that we have in place, utilizing the environments, Pega Academy, community edition that's out there for you to train and for you to practice on. Follow me in the demos. All of that's done to make sure that you get a firm and solid foundation that you can understand what you need to do for the Pega technology. So every submission has been graded. If you submitted an essay, it's been graded. I saw that maybe one or two people submitted something late Sunday, and so those are not graded. So there's only one or two or three that may not be graded, but the majority, 99%, have been graded. But what I'm seeing is there are some people who are missing a lot of essays, and that's a challenge because the next 2 weeks that we have coming up, they're very important. For instance, every session or every day, I will lecture over preparation for the certification. We have 2 weeks before the first certification. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that if you look at the schedule, which we will, but we have 2 weeks before we take the first certification. So in order for you to be ready for that, we need you to be caught up on all of your activities. So if your name is here, it's a list of everybody in the class. If you have missing associated with your name, I need you to get those submissions in. And that's more for you. That's more for you than for me, because if you're not doing the work, then you will not be prepared for the certification. Certification is tough. It's thorough, and that's why we do what we do. I've been running a program like this for 7 years, and I know what it takes in order for you to achieve success. And so if you find that you have missing essays, submit those essays, get them into me. Most of you, when you're submitting the essays, I can say that 90%, maybe 95% of you guys are passing. There's only a small margin of people who are scoring less than a 70. If you score less than a 70, then my AI assistant will show that you are not successful, and it gives you a plan that you can follow. And I saw some students scored lower than that. They went back and they updated their essay, or they created a new essay, which is good. You can just create a new essay and put a 1 at the end of it somewhere, a 1.1. And I can recognize, since it doesn't say that it's been evaluated, and I can test it again. But I saw that a few people went back and they did that, and they scored better, and they passed. And so your learning is your responsibility. I'll say that again. Your learning is your responsibility. So make sure that you utilize the tools that we have to help you achieve your success that you're looking for. So again, now, no one has completed the 16th. This was last week. You guys may be a bit behind, but I need you to get caught up. You only have one essay to do today. So we'll go over the schedule just to make sure that everyone's on point about what they should do. Again, these last 2 weeks are very, very crucial. Every day, I will discuss a portion of the certification. So you need to be caught up. You need to be active in your Pega courses and your coursework so that you are clear on what you should learn and understand. Now, you should have received an email also. Last night or early this morning, should have received an email that had this attachment, so you can see what's missing and what you need to get accomplished. I want to have a shout out to Angel and Daniela. You're on track. So congratulations for your hard work, for getting all of the essays in. All your essays have been correct. You've passed all of them with the high 90s. So I give you a round of applause. So keep doing what you're doing. Expectation is for everyone in the class to make this happen. You can. So let's go ahead and do it. For your today's session, well, before I get to the for today's session, let's see here. Let's take a look at the certification. I made mention of that. Again, this is what we call the certification blueprint. This is what Pega will test you over. All of our curriculum is designed to focus, have targeted learning on these particular topics, along with the skill that's associated with it. So we've already covered this 10%. I hope you guys remember we've covered this 10%. We've gone over that. We have that study guide that we'll be utilizing in our evening session to where we will start covering every last one of these topics. I will show you how to configure that topic. I'll give you the answer to every one of these topics. Just know that when you take the test, it will be in the form of a scenario. So with me showing you where to find that particular artifact of technology, how to configure it, what's its name, what's its definition, what's its purpose, how to navigate to it, how to really understand the use case for it. We cover all of that, every one of these topics. So do not miss a session. For the next 2 weeks, do not miss a session. We will cover every last one of these topics. For this evening, when we come back for the 6 o'clock session, we will cover all of the data integration. So from that study guide, I will walk through every one of these topics, show you how to configure a data object, data relationships, data records, what the difference is between those. A data record is the information that's in a database. A data relationship is when I have a work property associated, a work dash property associated with a data dash object. We had covered that before. What is a data object? A data object is a construct that allows us to group information together and create a reusable object that can be shared across case types. So we'll have those types of conversations. Let's just look at this. Capture and present data. Well, how do we do that? We do that with a UI. A UI will have fields, or we call those components. Field or component, the association is here's a field, here's a property that actually stores that particular value. It's displayed upon a view in Constellation. So those terms that I'm saying now, you should be familiar with. Data fields and views. So identify and create calculated values. Well, when I go and create a value, I have the capability of going to that particular field, and on the form at the bottom, it gives me a place that if it's a numeric value, only if it's a numeric value, will it enable a field where I can write a calculation. So I have a calculation. Now, we call that a declarative field because it is dependent upon other fields that calculation is. And so when the calculated values change, that field is automatically updated. So in Pega, we have something called a declarative network. Those are the types of conversations, in-depth conversations that we'll talk about. Well, how do we validate data? How do we create and configure data validation? Data validation happens on a form. It creates a validation rule. That validation rule will allow us, when we hit the enter key, to capture the information on the view and analyze it based upon that validation rule that is set. And then how do I manipulate data? How do I set property defaults? We will take a look at a data transform. Data transform in Pega allows you to do that. So that's a quick summary of what we will spend probably an hour and a half on for our evening session. So be prepared to stay for that whole session. Be prepared to learn. Hopefully, the community edition will be up and running. I know I tried earlier and it still wasn't working. So I'm not sure if they can get it up and running, but it said that they were having some problems with AWS services. But if not, I can use one of the challenges and I can show you how to go in and configure and understand those particular components in Pega. All right, so let's take a look at what we are doing today. So this is what you guys should be working on. And again, I don't have an exercise environment to show you. I like to go to community edition and I didn't bring up a challenge. So let's just talk about adding a duplicate case. So your assignments today is to add a duplicate case. In Pega, there's a capability to determine if a case has similar properties. So you're evaluating properties. Maybe there's a case that has a name and an address. And if then another case is submitted with the same name and address, and those are the two criteria that I'm evaluating, Pega would automatically throw a screen up to say, hey, this is probably a duplicate case. So what would be a good example of that? Say I'm in a call center. In a call center, someone calls in, they start asking for a particular type of credit card. Halfway through it, someone hangs up, communication ends. A day later, get another call. Same person, same address, same card they're asking for. I'm entering in the information. All of a sudden, Pega says, based upon my duplicate case, which is a sub process, a duplicate case is a sub process. A window comes up and says, this appears to be duplicate. Do you want to keep it or do you want to delete it? So that's one of the exercises that you'll do. The other one is creating a child case in our environment. You have a case type. Just because you have that main case type doesn't mean that's the only case that can be executed. You can have other cases execute in parallel. So I can start with the parent case, and in one of my stages, processes and steps, one of my steps, I have an automation that will allow me to initiate another case. And we call that a child case because there's a parent case that's running, that child case will execute. And you'll learn some of the ins and out about that. It can run concurrent. When does it terminate? What other types of activities can occur when that's in play? Validating data with business logic. That gets back to that validation rule. You'll see how to set a validation rule on a form that will determine the integrity of your data and how to manipulate it. That's our data transform that I shared with you. So those are the activities that you'll be working on for today. You should be complete with them by the end of the day. Right? So the readings, the challenges that you have to do, they're short. So you really have limited amount of reading. You have about 25 minutes of reading here in an essay to do. But these are really, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 challenges. Those challenges probably take you 10, maybe 15 minutes a piece. So it doesn't take long for you to do it. So encourage you that when I'm giving you your time back, we won't spend the whole 2 hours today, that sit down and work on it now so that when you come for this evening session, be prepared that we will cover all of those topics that are in data and integration. Now, one other topic that you'll cover, personas. You should be familiar with a persona. It's a identified group within Pega that have like work activities. That's a persona. So you may have some customer relations. That would be a persona. You may have the financial group. That may be a persona. So two different personas. They typically will have their own portal. So we talk about a channel, a portal that's associated with those personas. So you'll learn how to do that from a BA perspective, very easy to do. very powerful in its implementation, but very easy interface that you'll find. So those are your activities that you'll have for today. Our next session for this evening, as I mentioned before, we will spend time going over those blueprint topics. So be prepared to get your work done today. Be prepared to come back, have your environment up and running. I want you to walk through the demos with me. We'll take a look at the study guide. That will be our focal point. We'll take a look at the study guide going forward. And I'll meet you back at 6 p.m. for today. And again, I want to remind you, these last 2 weeks are important. Every day I will cover a major section of the certification. Certification is in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that you're prepared for this business certification. Let me go back. That you're prepared for the business certification, and you'll be able to get this business architect badge. And so that's why I told you it's important that you complete all of your challenges, small exercises within Pega, all of the quiz questions that are there, and that will enable you to get that first badge. So in 2 weeks, you should have everything prepared to get the first badge, take the mission test, and do the mission exercise. And this is later on down the line for the last 2 weeks. So before I let you guys go, though, let's take a look at the schedule. I want you to see the schedule. This is for week 4, as I mentioned before. So Wednesday, we'll have other things that we'll look at and we'll work on. But let me scroll up and let me show you for week 5. You'll see at the end of for each day, I'm always doing a topic. I'm making sure that I cover all of the certification topics. So I need you to do all of your work. But notice that on the 30th, right? Today is the 20th, 10 days from now. On the 30th, you'll be preparing for the certification. So that Thursday, we'll spend both sessions going through the final pages of the study guide. You'll take your mission test at that point. So that means that you have to complete all of your modules, all of your module quizzes, all of your challenges. You do the mission exercise, and then we have 2 internal tests that we give you to prepare you for the main test. If you don't pass these 2 tests, then you won't sit for the main test. And Pega may have an additional test for you to sit for. Because the vouchers are free, they are $175 US. What Pega is saying is you need to validate that you are prepared to sit for the test. So they give you $175 free if you can pass their pre-test. Then you can sit for the main test. But in order for us to prepare you for their pre-test, then we have 2 tests of our own so that we know that you guys are ready for that. So that's how we will proceed over the next 2 weeks. Again, it's very, very important that you get caught up, that you do the work, and I will see you this evening at 6 p.m. Have a blessed day and enjoy the day.